Got some brazing rod for pins. It's just shy of 1/8 of an inch in diameter. Should be good. Got a nice blue on there. Even though I didn't heat treat it, it's still pretty hard. Somehow lost the footage of making the pins and drilling the holes in the handle scales. So I got some scraps. I'll show you how I made them. I've got some old brazing rod here. It's got contaminated. The flux is no good anyway. The flux comes off pretty easy. It's really quite brittle. I usually just take a pair of pliers and scrape it and then sand it. Some coarse paper. So this is 1/8 inch. It's about 120 thousandths, a little shy of 1/8 inch. Take both your scales and in your handle. Pretend this is my blade. Measure the thickness. You can use a tape measure. It doesn't have to be really precise. So I've got 1.290, 1.3 inches thick. I'm going to add a little bit to that. I'm going to make it about 1.360 overall length. I want the pins just a little bit longer than the overall width, thickness of the handle when I first assemble it. So I lock that, put that on the end. These make great scribes like that. I don't do that on steel usually because it's rough on the calipers, but brass is no problem. Cut both of those on the waist side just to give me a little bit extra material. I'd much rather them have a little bit longer than shorter. And we'll go drill some holes and mount them up. The brass I'm using. I'm going to pretend that I know exactly where these need to be. It doesn't matter for this experiment. I'll show you here in a minute. Let me get this drilled first. So normally I would have marked precisely where I wanted these on the knife handle, but for this it doesn't really matter. So for the knife scales you want at least one side that's good and flat, which I've planed both of these down, so I'm going to call that the right and I'm going to call this the left. And I usually call them that in reference to the way you hold it in your hand. It'll be the left over here and the right would go over on that side, just so I don't get them mixed up early on. So take my first piece, and I need to get those burrs off first. My knife handles are a lot flatter than this piece is, so put one of these on here wherever it lines up is how you like it on your piece. Drill a hole. I normally cut my scales a good bit larger than my workpiece, so I've got plenty of room all the way around. So next step is make sure our brass fits. It fits. This guy, check the other one. Yep, they fit. I always run them both all the way through both holes to make sure they're interchangeable. I don't have to worry about putting it in the wrong hole. So we take this new hole that we drilled, which is this one here. This will be on the left side, I'll call that the left. And we'll press in through the hole. So that's through that hole. Now, I drill my second hole through the metal again. I'm not concerned with breakout on the back side, that's all going to get clean and sanded and smoothed off. So that's my test fit. They both fit snugly into the wood. There's no play here, everything's nice and aligned. Pull these guys out, maybe. Some pliers. My left hand scale. Same thing with the right one, except I forgot a step, because that's what I do. So I got them through the scale, driven down. Imagine that's flush. And then I take these and I'll line these front edges up pretty close to where I want it. Now, very carefully take this guy off and drill a hole in the other half going through the opposite side of the steel line. So I've got him lined up now, and since we lined this up with the other one before we drill that one, it should still match pretty closely. But it doesn't have to be precise at this point, I'll show you why. So now we got our parts together. So, we got them a little bit protruding on this side. These are flush, a little bit longer. So that's horrible alignment because I'm just doing this really quick. I normally get them pretty close. So now we take them off. We verified that our pins are the right length. And we put these together. Maybe. There we go. Make sure the pins are... So this is... The scale's assembled without the handle in the middle. And now, since this would be typically the leading edge, or the blade would be here, it's going to be the front. I'll work these down and together with them clamped up so that when we put them on the knife later, they'll match up. Because we don't want to work on this face right here with the knife blade protruding out, because it's just too difficult to do it without messing up the blade. So we're done. So working on the leading edge here. I put a little angle. I didn't do it on the knife that I'm working on, but I did it on this just to show you can. And I usually get these bevels here. A whole lot of this thickness is going to go away when I finish the handle. These are about twice as thick as what I normally put on. So now what we would normally do is apply epoxy, which I'll show in a minute, on the real one. You put them together like so, and you can see that these would match each other from side to side, and more importantly the length is what you want to set correctly on the sander here. So I've got my scales ready here. I'll lay this on here. Make sure I get the right side, left. That's right. Now poke these, make sure those are sticking out of the back side just a little bit. So now I've got them standing proud on both sides. So now I press down and make sure everything is now flush on this side. Now I can gauge exactly how much I'll have sticking out. And this is too much, that's more than I want to peen over. But I made them extra long so I could make them exactly how long I wanted. I was ready. So now we'll just file them off a little bit. Actually, since I've got these good, I'm going to go on, push them through the other way. That way both sides will be nice and clean. Right now I've got you can see it, there's a little nub in there where I didn't saw all the way through with a hacksaw, because I didn't want to fall through and hit the table with the blade. That's about how much I want sticking out there. The other side's got a little ways to go. There we go. Now we're ready to epoxy it, clamp it up and let it sit overnight. Right up flush. So that'll keep me from cleaning, have to clean the epoxy from all off the blade. And this will hopefully keep me from cutting myself. Don't be afraid. There's more at the store. There we go. And that safety handle. Yep. Nice in there. Break these apart. Tight fit is great until you need to take it apart a bunch of times. Then it gets a little annoying. There we go. Let's see if this is still good. Yeah. Make sure you coat everything good. Both sides. Press into both the wood and the metal as you smear it across. It helps wet the surface and get it down into all the tiny little scratches in both. Part of the reason I don't sand or polish the entire handle up underneath where the scale goes is that the coarse sanding actually helps the bite. So that's my left side. I'll start with the right. There's that. We'll clamp over and then we'll go over a small anvil and peen those over real quick. So while this is still wet, pull it up at an angle, tap that through to make sure they're protruding from both sides, and hold up at an angle and just tap on it lightly. And flip her over. See how the side's protruding, that way I get a mushroom on both sides. Flip. Keep flipping, don't hit it too hard. A lot of light taps. Our pin's set. One side I left a little longer than the other. It took a little more work to get her down, but they're both good to go. We'll let this sit overnight and shape a handle tomorrow. Epoxy's all set up. I'm gonna grind her down a little bit, get her close to shape. Why did I make the knife? Mainly, well, two reasons. One, I just like making knives. And two, get a cleaner cut on a piece of wood. So by striving a good hard line on the knife versus, I'll draw one over here, pencil, I'll run over and cut them and see what the difference is. So I'll cut to the pencil line first. You see this big ugly edge on the far side where I cut. Now I'll cut to the knife line. Get that on the far side, which on the push stroke takes the brunt of the ripping. So that's with knife line. Obviously it could be a little bit cleaner. I was a little closer, but we'd take a planer later on and finish that off. But it definitely reduces a lot of the tear out.